This episode of the Buffalonian Podcast is brought to you by the Buffalonian division of the Castsource Podcast Network. The podcast network built by Buffalonians for Buffalonians, featuring the Wings with Blue Cheese podcast and the Buffalonian Podcast, with more shows on the way very soon. Find these shows wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or simply visit our website posted in the episode description. Now, without further ado, let's get into the Bills, Sabres, hot takes, and more of the Buffalonian Podcast. All right. Let's go. We are back with the Buffalonian Podcast. We are in week 3 of the NFL season, betting on the Bills. How are we feeling heading into week 3? Bills had a great week 2 matchup against the Raiders last week. We kind of previewed it a little bit on Tuesday's podcast. But we are going to the capital, the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., to play the Commanders. And they have had a very good showing so far with Sam Howell as their quarterback, and their defense has been playing very well. So just some general thoughts. What are some thoughts you have going into this matchup here? Anything that you're nervous about? Anything along those lines?
I think it's going to be a matchup that I think when the schedule first came out, I think probably thought 70-30 Bills win, and now maybe it's dropped a little bit, maybe not because of what
60-40.
not because of what the Bills have done, but I think the Commanders have looked pretty impressive. Listen, I'm not going to pretend they've played the best competition. Beating Denver is kind of okay, and they
Great
were in a
game.
battle against Arizona, and yes, I know Arizona has battled really hard the first 2 weeks, so it's not like they've beaten anyone great, and I think every power ranking you see about the 2-0 teams, I'm pretty sure they're always like, I think there's 9 2-0 teams or something like that, and they're always like pretty much last or like second to last with like Atlanta. So they're a good team. I think they're a lot better than I think people like myself took them credit for in the offseason, because I think Sam Howell was just a huge question mark, only one career start going into the year. He's looked pretty good. I think
looking more and more like their possible franchise quarterback if they do it the right way.
Yeah, and I think also we just forgot about Eric Bieniemy, to be honest. Like, this is a guy that's what that the previous 2 off seasons was kind of like the talk of, is he going to be getting a head coaching position? It doesn't work out. He makes this. It's a lateral move because offensive coordinator, but it seemed kind of like a weird decision to be moving to Washington with again, Sam Howell, fun career start, really not maybe elite talent at the quarterback position, but you got to give Bieniemy credit. He's done a fantastic job of implementing his scheme, and they've been a very productive offense the first 2 weeks of the season, and obviously they're going to look to continue that against the Bills in week 3.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Bieniemy also gave Matt Milano his flowers. I don't know if you saw that video. High praises for Matt Milano at a press conference from Eric Bieniemy, and you can't not. He said you got to take a minute, and he's looked over a lot, but respect for Eric Bieniemy. He's done great things in his career. I'm excited to play against that. I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Like you said, though, they're kind of showing out. So the 70-30 Bills win, kind of, easy feeling. It's still there in a way, but it's like, okay, these guys are coming to play. They're throwing their cards on the table. They're doing what they need to do, and it's going to be interesting to watch this game. I think the Bills still win it, but I think the Commanders, I think they'll throw up a fight. I don't think they're rolling over and showing their belly
Well,
right
no,
away or anything like
I
that.
think
So,
for me, there's like as we said last week, there's probably three to four things to look at this week.
mhm.
One is how do the Bills handle the pass rush of Washington? Obviously, you saw it in 2021. The Bills did a phenomenal job of not getting not letting the defensive line of the Commanders take over the game, and Chase Young was really
Weren't they the Washington football team back then?
maybe.
2019?
Oh my god, is that true that Josh has played them as the Redskins, the football team, and the Commanders?
Yeah,
That might be
I
true
think we're
for
hitting all 3. I don't think they
19,
were the
23 now.
Commanders
Every
yet.
2 years we play them apparently. First time in Washington though. Check that one off the list
Yeah.
for Josh
Yeah.
Allen of road venue playing at, but, no, I think
Yeah.
it's they didn't allow the D-line to take control 2 years ago. You can't let them do it this year. Chase Young looked really good last week, his first game back from the ACL. Obviously, Deron Payne, one of their better. I mean, him and Jonathan Allen are just both very good defensive tackles, so it's kind of hard to put one over the other. But he's banged up. I don't think he was practicing yesterday. We'll see what happens today. But also with Montez Sweat, who's really underrated. So they have a really good front four. So it's going to be interesting. Can the Bills struggled to run the ball a little bit on the Jets? Good front four. Can they get the ground game going this week? And also, pass protection has been really good so far this year. I think I saw the stat where the Bills have only allowed pressure 26% of the time when not blitzed. That's a pretty good stat for the offensive line, and they did a pretty good job. They did a good job last week, and I think they did a pretty decent job 2 weeks ago against that Jets front. Really, it just felt like it was
Mhm.
kind of more Allen induced than anything else. So, um, that Stephon Diggs was quoted in saying, sometimes when you play defenses, it's as a wide receiver or in a passing game, can you beat the cornerback? Can you beat the defensive back? Against teams like Washington, New York, it's can you beat the defensive line, which is a different beast to tame. So I think that's something to look at. I think the second thing to look at is Sam Howell has been sacked a lot. I believe it's been 10 times. He had the strip sack for a touchdown against Arizona in week 1 that really let the Cardinals back into the game. And he's kind of a guy that holds the ball a lot, and this is an
Yeah.
important game for. I'm not saying he's like the most athletic quarterback of all time, but like he is a little slippery back there, but he holds the ball. I think this is an opportunity for the Bills D line to kind of get some pressure, and if they keep him contained, they're gonna get some sacks and maybe force him into making an errant throw or fumbling the ball again. So I think the D line is something
Yeah.
to look. The really the pass rush, I would say, is something to look at this year because I mean this week because last week it was a little disappointing. I think it was a little more up and down. I mean it was more the run defense and good coverage. I think this week with the pass rush, I think is going to be monster. And then I guess the two other things kind of go a little side to side, maybe not so much, but Denver was allowed to do got some deep shots on the secondary. Obviously, I'm not counting the Hail Mary, but
Hail Mary.
they had a couple ones to Marvin Mims, obviously the big one for the touchdown. So we really haven't seen a 40-yard bomb completed by Allen. I mean, the only one that's really had a productive outcome has been the defensive pass interference when the guy tackled Diggs in the end zone. So I'd be interested to see if we could see that. And then also if Knox, looking at the injury report, I know we'll talk about it after this, but Knox potentially missing the game because he hasn't practiced all week. Is this the Dalton Kincaid game? Who takes the snaps? Is it Trent Sherfield, who I don't believe has a catch this entire season? Uh,
No, he does not. He is not yeah, he has no
can they
catches on the
be as
season at all.
productive in 12 personnel with Quinton Morris being the second tight end instead of Dawson Knox? So that is something to look at personnel wise if Knox misses. Also, I just have I'm
Everyone was participating in practice today too. Just want to make that note. McDermott did say
okay,
that.
cool. I mean I mean, some of them
Yeah,
might be
so
limited, but like that's a good sign.
right.
At least you're playing.
Yeah.
But it might be too short of a turnaround. We'll see. I mean, Leonard Floyd I know has been limited. Uh, Bernard was limited, but he's probably going to play. Hyde's been limited, but I think
Mhm.
he's going to play. Floyd, maybe a game time decision with the ankle. I don't know if they're going to risk him re injuring that. But I think the one, I guess I want to get your thoughts on, like the one roster move or whatever is DeMar Hamlin has been scratched the last 2 games. and I
Yes.
would say Taylor Rapp has played underwhelming, not great, Bob. You know, obviously he had the unnecessary hit on Devontae Adams. Uh,
Yeah, which he was fuming about. Did you catch that tweet from him?
yeah, big loser energy.
Yeah, right. Just sorry, go cry in a corner if you're mad about
I'm
losing,
sorry.
okay?
Like, listen, call it unnecessary, call it a BS hit. Like, I respect that, but being like, "That's why he's not on the field," that was just like, it's like, bro, come on now. No,
Right.
that's
That
a tad
yeah.
much. That's a tad like
You lost the game and you're mad, okay? Like we understand, whatever. There's no need to start getting like that because yeah, it was, as you just said, a little bit of an
a little
unnecessary
bit.
hit.
I mean, it was.
But
Let's just call a spade a spade.
yeah, it was. Yeah, let's throw the cards on the table. It was an unnecessary hit, but you're absolutely right. I'm full on jumping on the loser mentality train on that one. So,
So, like,
yeah.
my thought
I mean,
process, I wanna
be
see
better.
yours is there potential I don't think we'll see it yet, but is there potential we see DeMar Hamlin healthy, active over Taylor Rapp?
I think there is a possibility of that. He's proven, starting most of the year last year until after Micah Hyde was injured, and until well, actually, even before that, Jordan Poyer was out for a little bit, wasn't he? They flip flopped or something like that.
Um, I'm trying to think. Well,
No, actually, I
Poyer
don't
and
think
Hyde
so.
both got injured week 2, and well,
Yes,
obviously Hyde was out for the year. Poyer missed week 3, so both Jaquan Johnson and DeMar Hamlin were playing, and I
Demar.
think at that time, DeMar was the 4th safety and Jaquan was the 3rd, and Jaquan got routed on that 3rd and 22 by Jalen Waddle, and after that he actually plays on the Raiders now, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he got cut, but he signed with the Raiders, Jaquan Johnson.
Oh,
But
interesting.
that's where DeMar took over the 3rd, safety role and started the next week in Baltimore, next to Poyer.
Yeah, no, I think he's kind of proven himself as a backup for sure. He was effective in the secondary last season. Yeah, there were some iffy mistakes and stuff like that that you wouldn't see veterans like Hyde or Poyer make. But then again, he is your backup. He's a younger guy, so even after everything happened with him, I think it was. I think we could see him make an appearance and a solid appearance for sure in the secondary over if Taylor Rapp stays inconsistent and you know what I
Like,
mean, like
Taylor
sticks
Rapp
to
is a
the
good player.
track
I'm
he's
not,
on.
like, bashing him, but his
Yeah,
first 2 weeks, he just hasn't played well, and I think he's, like, opened the door for him to not
for DeMar.
be playing, because especially I don't think he's been great in special teams, so, like, I don't know, I think he's definitely opened the door for his potential to not be playing. It's kind of maybe the opposite with the Christian Kirksey now retiring of, Terrell Bernard, is that I I truly believe Christian Kirksey signed and, had the expectation that Terrell Bernard might fall on his face, and he's gonna get an opportunity to take the middle linebacker spot open, and well, I think Terrell Bernard is no Tremaine Edmunds, and I don't think it's been smooth sailing. I think and it's been a little up and down. I think he's been solid enough where, okay, like, that this dude's started 2 games as middle linebacker for in our defense, like, let's get him. It's his job, and I think Kirksey felt that energy and retired. So I think it's interesting between third safety and middle linebacker how you would think the opposite would have happened where Bernard doesn't play well and Rapp does well. So Hamlin keeps being a healthy scratch, and Christian Kirksey's on the practice squad potentially learning the defense and again take over and kind of I don't know the opposite kind of occurred.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was surprising, but I mean, back to your question, I think it's very plausible to see DeMar Hamlin on the couple weeks, if not the week after this one, if Taylor Rapp really struggles. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, the Bills have just bad luck with guys retiring that they get in the offseason. The Seahawks offensive lineman, I even forget his name.
It was no, it was Brandon Shell, the
Completely
Dolphins
forgot.
tackle.
Brandon Shell. He played on the
Yeah.
Seahawks though. That was the picture they used. Dolphins, and then we had Kirksley just, he retired. So
Also with Anquan
I think you're right on that though. I think he saw that and was like, okay, yeah, it's his spot. I'm gonna retire.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Avante Davis mid-game in the season and Anquan
Yeah.
Boldin before he even played, so definitely some weird energy
Yeah.
there, but I think it's interesting to see what because, I mean, listen, the same 5 were scratched the back-to-back games. The Bills do have an incredibly deep roster, but it's gonna be interesting to see if we see a little tweaking of I mean, obviously, I don't know, Elam Hamlin, I think, is the most likely. I don't think any of the 2 offensive linemen and Kingsley I guess I should rephrase. Kingsley Jonathan, if Leonard Floyd is out, has the best is probably gonna be active. So I guess if we're doing betting odds, he probably currently is I don't know. It's interesting because Hyde's also banged up, so if Hyde doesn't go, Hamlin will be active. So I feel like Hamlin has the
Yeah.
best betting odds, followed by, um, Kingsley Jonathan, and then I don't even know where Kyer fits into all this, to be completely honest. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what would have to happen for
I
him to be
it's
active.
unfortunate. It's unfortunate that Kyer Elam is not active, but it's because Benford has taken huge strides. He's out there producing every game so far. Um, and character shows. Like we talked about it on Tuesday. That play in the Jets game where he chases down Brees Hall, like that's character. That's like your heart's in it. Like, yeah, it wasn't great that even happened, but he chased him all the way and got him out. And he played very solid game. And that's like unfortunate that Elam, our first round pick, is not doing that. But if Christian Benford's doing it, more power to him. That's kind of the whole thing with that. Unfortunately, it's a dog eat dog world out there. Unfortunately, but especially in the world of professional sports.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good game. I think this is obviously the Bills are 6.5-point favorites, so honestly, they're
Yes.
getting they're getting
Hmm.
they're getting the road respect that Vegas always has been giving them for the past couple of seasons now. I'm trying to see the over under is 43.5. It's gonna be interesting. With the weather potentially playing a factor. Obviously, Warren Sharp pointed out that 3 games kind of on the East Coast, 1 o'clock hour, maybe get hit with weather. I think Patrick Hammer and others have said that it may clear up before that, but I really hope we don't get like a we hope we don't get a trying to think of like the Ravens game last year, the Texans game the year before that, the Texans and Colts game, you could say, just like rainy kind of games, and especially when those games are in September when they're supposed to be, you know, good weather. You're not supposed to be facing like the snow or whatever, the cold. For one of their games to kind of get wasted on a rainstorm would be pretty frustrating. Actually, let me look up the weather to see it for sure, but it definitely would change a lot. Obviously, if that would happen, I think the under would have to be the play. I do think,
Yeah.
however, if the rain or the weather holds off, I think the over is the play just because the Bills' defense has yet to be completely tested. Like, they got tested on the ground the last 2 weeks. They failed one challenge, rose against the Raiders and dominated that challenge. The passing defense has yet to be really tested. I mean, Aaron Rodgers played 4 snaps. That's the best quarterback they played. Like, Zach Wilson, no. And the Raiders had Devontae go for, like, 5 catches, 80 yards, and then the only other wide receiver that made a catch was Hunter Renfrow in garbage time. So they were a bunch of screen games and that. So I think it's going to be interesting with the skill position of Washington, Jahad Dobson, Terry McLaurin, um, Curtis Samuel. We'll see if I think Logan Thomas is gonna play even though he got headshotted, and then, Brian Robinson's a good back,
Yeah.
so and they have a solid offensive line, and Howell's playing well, and again, with Bieniemy's scheme, so I think this is, like, a massive test before, you go home and play the Dolphins, like, this is a massive test for this defense. Really I would say the pass defense. I think the run defense will still be solid. I know Robinson's a good back, but I just believe in this run defense right now. It's the pass defense that concerns me a little bit, just from the fact of this team's the secondary is not athletic. Let's put it that way. Compared to other NFL teams, it is a It is
Right.
a veteran secondary, which allows you to do a lot of things in disguise and coverage, tricking the young quarterback, and Sam Howell going to be making his 4th career start, so I think that could be a factor. But it's not like you got a lot of 4-4 guys on the back end. Like, Trey's never been the most athletic guy. I mean, has major knee surgery. Poyer hasn't really looked great. Hyde's another guy, never had great speed, but solid. And then obviously we saw Benford's speed, so I guess uh, there's some athleticism there. And you know, both Milano and Bernard can fly. Being ex safety, so I think this is going to be an interesting game for the pass defense, and especially a big test for Terrell Bernard in the middle. I feel like he hasn't really been tested in the middle of this defense yet. There was talk
Right.
about how last week Jimmy G might have missed some throws over the middle because he's been being able to move Bernard with his eyes, which I don't know if that's a good thing because Bernard's yes, he's covering some guy that Jimmy G wants, but then he's leaving his kind of coverage open for a back end player to be open down the middle of the field. So no, I think that to me is the big thing because I think this defense, the back seven of the Commanders is gettable. The young cornerback and Ford. Fuller's all
Yeah.
right. St. Just is all right. Like they don't have any elite defense. Cam Curl's a good safety. I'll give him credit, but it's not like they have a lot of elite player. The linebackers aren't great. I mean, Jameer Davis is good, but their other linebacker is not. So it's not like they have a great. They don't have an All Pro on their back seven. They have a very good D line, and they have some decent corners and a good safety. The linebackers are not good, and the rest of them are just kind of meh. So I think this is a big game for play action, and I think Dalton Kincaid gonna have a big game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantasy guy for me right there, Dalton Kincaid. So, I'm really, really hoping that if Knox doesn't play, even though he did technically practice, he was limited, but even if Knox doesn't play, he gets more involved and he's the tight end one. And I think he's got a great opportunity here to really show his stuff. If Knox isn't playing, he's going to show it anyway. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying be the primary tight end target. So I think that could be very interesting to watch. And yeah, I think this game is going to be a good game, fun game to watch. It's one of the few 1 p.m. games. So if you like the 1 p.m. slate, this is for you. It's going to be a good game, and I think the Bills are going to come out on top, which leads me into score predictions, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, I just want to make a note. It seems like looking at the weather, it's supposed to be 67, and around
Rainy,
1 o'clock there seems to be about a 40% chance of rain. It's supposed to be raining a lot before that for a while. I think that
yeah. So the field is going to be a
it's
little
gonna be slick
slippery,
because
like that.
there's a
That's
flash flood warning as
mhm.
well for tonight. So definitely not ideal weather conditions, but if anyone's you know, the Bills have plenty of experience playing in rainy weather. I mean, Chiefs game, mentioned the Texans game, Ravens game, Colts game, just
Yeah,
kind of seems to be in
yeah,
their identity.
yeah. It's just what happens. And also the wind is only going to be around 11 miles an hour. I saw, so not a super windy day, which is also good. So passing can happen, which is nice. Even though the Bills' run game looks dominant, but anyway, score prediction time. I think the Bills take it. I'm taking the Bills easily. It'd be tough not to bet on the Bills when the podcast episode is called "Betting on the Bills." Um, I'm taking the Bills to win this game, and I think they're going to win it 28-14. I think they double them.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
What do you think?
I'm gonna assume that the weather kind of holds off enough where teams are able to throw the ball a little bit. I'm gonna go 31-20. I think this is another back-to-back 30-point games for the Bills. I think last week, again, to my own horn here, was able to predict that the Bills would correctly score 38 points. So that was
Yeah,
pretty cool. And I can't fully remember what my individual prediction was, but I was pretty close with the Kincaid and Knox. I mean, Knox had a touchdown, Kincaid almost had a touchdown. So
hmm
I think 31-20 is going to be the correct score. I think that I'm going to give two players to look at. One, again, I'm going to fully Kincaid. I think this is Kincaid's breakout game. He was
yeah,
solid in week 1. Week 2, he was really good. Week 3, especially if he becomes top dog without Knox, I think we're gonna see 80 yards and a touchdown, 8 catches, that kind of day from the young lad. And I think defensively, I think we're gonna see Big Ed I mean, he's been really good, really under the radar a little bit the first 2 weeks. I think he gets a strip sack, kinda what he did to Dak Prescott on
Oh,
Thanksgiving. That
yeah.
leads to a defensive
He's gonna ride
score.
the horse.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna ride the horse into the end zone. You know what? I'll go strip sack for a touchdown. I think he runs it all. Yeah. Yeah,
The
that's
whole
I
9
love that.
yards.
I think Matt Milano is gonna get another interception this game. I'm telling you right now. He's gonna Milano someone else. I'm telling you. He's gonna pick it right out of the air from Sam Howell. Um, Matt Milano, all pro season, starting off hot. And he's gonna just continue to get hotter and hotter. So I'm really excited about it. Eric Bieniemy's ready for him. We'll see if he game plans for Matt Milano out there. But now I believe it is time for our picks segment. We're gonna have other games, and we're gonna introduce at the end here a new little thing we like to call a mortal lock. So it's a random game. We do not know what each other's mortal locks are. It's a guaranteed win. We can guarantee you that that team is going to win. Maybe hold off on the word guaranteed, but we're going to try to guarantee you that win. But Dom, I'll let you kick it off. Pats 2.5-point favorites against the Jets. AFC East matchup. Who you got?
This game's gonna be boring. I mean, I believe the last time they played it was 10-3. New England, they scored on like a punt return of 10 seconds to go. I'm assuming a very similar game to this. Um, it's really tough, but I just I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but I just trust Mac Jones more than Zach Wilson. I don't think I'll ever really say that again, saying I trust Mac Jones more than the opposite quarterback he's playing. But I just I just believe that the Patriots are gonna force some turnovers. I think it's really hard to run on this Patriots team, and Christian Gonzalez has played really well the first 2 weeks for New England, the rookie cornerback, first-round pick. So I think he'll be matched up a lot against Garrett Wilson. So that'll be a very exciting matchup to watch, and I think the Pats move the ball enough to win, like, 13-10. Like, this game's a classic, put it on red zone, you're gonna be gone for an hour, then all of a sudden, it's gonna be, like, hour in between red zone plays. That's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, this game's on right now." But I got the Pats winning 13-10, and then that would, make the Jets 1-2, and the Pats are 1-2 and get out of the basement. Put the Jets in the basement, potentially.
Oh yeah, look at that. So I agree with you. I'm going to take the Pats. I think Bill Belichick's defense is going to give the Jets offense some serious problems. I do trust Mac Jones more than I trust Zach. So I'm taking the Patriots. I think it's going to be a closer game. I'm going to go 21-17. I think the Patriots win.
I'm just gonna tell you right
Yeah,
now,
that's
my spread was 3 points. So,
huh?
you said, "I got this as a little bit of a closer game." My spread was 3 points, your spread was 4.
No, no, I wasn't saying with your spread. I was saying in general, like closer game.
Okay.
I
I
wasn't
thought
going
that's
off
what
your
you meant. I
spread.
was
I was
like
saying no, no. I was going in general closer game. It's not gonna be like a touchdown in between. It's gonna be like 4
I agree.
points. You know what I
It's
mean?
gonna be a tight game. I mean,
Yeah.
but if these offenses are both so bad, in my opinion, with their quarterbacks, and these defenses are one of the best in the NFL. So it's just bad on good for 60 minutes.
Yes, the you're gonna get the better of two horribles to
2
win this
evils.
game, but two evils. They're not evil though. Belichick might be, but anyway, besides the point. Broncos versus Dolphins is our second game. The Dolphins are favored by 6.5 points. Oh, doggy. I think I'm going to do something ballsy here. I think I'm going to take the upset. I'm going to take the Denver Broncos to win this game. I think the Dolphins dropped their first game of the season in an unexpected one. I think Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos lost in a heartbreaker last week. They're going to they're going to be coming out wanting to win a game. So I have the Broncos winning in a close game. Close game. I'm gonna do it 17-14. I
Jeez.
think it's low scoring. I think they hold the Dolphins. Yeah. I think this is gonna be a tough game. It's gonna be one of those games like Jacksonville Bills 6-9. Like it's gonna be one of those weird games, I'm telling you. So I'm taking the Broncos over the
Yeah, I got
Dolphins.
I got Denver losing. They're just I don't trust Russ. I know his stats looked good the first 2
Hmm.
weeks, but if you take away, the Hail Mary, his stats kinda dwindle down, obviously losing a 60-yard touchdown pass. Um,
Yeah.
and this defense is terrible. I mean, the Broncos' defense was terrible. Not to take away from Washington. Again, we're playing them. They have. I think they have actually a good offense, but um, their number 2 corner is terrible. They don't have good linebackers. I think McDaniels versus Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator for the Broncos, is just probably, if you look into this weekend, probably one of the bigger mismatches on the slate. And I don't know. I just don't. Also, going to Miami in the heat is not going to be an
Mm-hmm.
easy task at all. And so I got the score
Yeah.
38-20. I also think Russ holds the ball, and I think the Miami D line will make a couple plays on big sacks, and I think Tua and the Dolphins roll. I guess my only concern with this pick would be if the Dolphins look ahead to next week to the Bills. But I think they'll stay focused,
Yes.
and we'll get a good matchup next week in Orchard Park.
Yeah. Alrighty. Sounds good. I have the next game on the slate: Chargers versus Vikings. The Vikings are 1-point favorites. Chargers are at Minnesota. 1-point favorites. I think one of these teams needs to win a game. So they're both 0-2 on the season. And
Now they could tie.
they could tie. And the script writers are loving it. I think they're gonna write the
Listen,
tie
the
in.
Chargers in the AFC and is that team on the Chargers in the NFC are the Vikings, so it's like a perfect marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Like perfect.
You're not wrong. Not wrong. I think I don't think the Chargers charger. I think they win this game. The Vikings are only 1-point favorites at home. Uh, so I think the Chargers come in. They have the I want to say better quarterback, but the coaching is what kills me with the Chargers. Like they just choke games that they should not be choking. Like that Miami game could have been an absolute win for them to start the season. Like even last week, I forget who they played last week,
Titans.
but they choked in that game. The Titans. They lost to the Titans. And yeah, the Titans aren't easy to win against. Absolutely. Mike Vrabel's good on defense, right? But what are we doing here? Like the coaching staff drives me crazy. I'm picking the Chargers though. I think they bounce back. And unfortunately, I think the Vikings are 0-3 on their
I'm gonna
season,
agree with you.
like my fantasy team will be.
I think for me, this comes down to I think Herbert over Cousins, and I think the
Mhm.
Chargers defense to me is just better than the Vikings defense. I don't think the Vikings defense is very good at all. I mean, listen, we saw week 1 the Dolphins dared the Chargers to run the ball, and the Chargers were able to run the ball down their throats efficiently. The Vikings did the same thing to the Eagles, and the Eagles just ran the ball down the Vikings' throats. So I assume maybe
Right.
they're going to do the same kind of thing. And we already now what my concern would be is Austin Eckler is probably going to be out, but even with Josh Kelly, I think the Chargers are going to be able to run the ball well. I mean, they still have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. I think maybe this is the Quentin Johnston breakout game. You have Herbie. I mean, I just think the Chargers are going to be able to move the ball very well consistently on this Vikings defense. And I think one of these games, the Chargers defense has to come out and dominate. I mean, come on now. And so I got them. I got them winning 28-24. I think this is going to be a close game at the end, but I think the Vikings charger more than the Chargers charger, and that leads the Chargers to going to 1-2.
I like it. I forgot my score prediction in there, so I'll throw that in now. I think the Chargers win it 28-21. I think they win by a touchdown. But yeah, they don't charger as hard as the Vikings charger. Next game though, last year's NFC champions, Philadelphia Eagles, -5 points against the Baker Mayfield era of the Buccaneers. And oh boy, I watched the Kelsey documentary. It was fantastic. I actually loved every minute of it. Um, Highly recommend it. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Yeah, yeah. If you have Amazon Prime, which is Thursday Night Football, unless you're, which is highly illegal, and I don't advise against it. But I would highly recommend watching the Kelsey documentary. Anyway, I have the Eagles. Who I'm taking the upset again. I'm taking the Buccaneers in this game. I think Baker Mayfield's fired up. That team is fired up. He's been going a little bit beyond expectations this year. And I think the Eagles are going to give them a run for their money. This is going to be a big game, close game. I think the Bucs win by 3 points down to the wire. Game winning field goal there, and it's going to be. Let me do the math here real quick. Let's see what score sounds the best. It's a 3-pointer. It doesn't really matter. It's whether it's high scoring or not. And I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. I think it's going to be an offensive battle. So give it to me 38-35. I think it's going to be one of the highest scoring games we've seen. And it's going to be the ending score for the Super Bowl last year that the Eagles lost out on. So that's my
I
prediction.
got the Eagles 35-27. I think my concern for the Eagles would be they have some defensive starters that are gonna be out, but I just think this D line is gonna
Yeah.
overwhelm the Tampa Bay offensive line, and the story of Baker Mayfield's career is that he doesn't love pressure in his face, and I think of Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, all those Fletcher Cox, like, I think all those guys are gonna be able to do that, and I think the Eagles find a way to offensively to still be productive, like they did last week on the ground, and I think we'll see a big AJ Brown game in my opinion because obviously it always feels like whenever the star receiver is in the news, the next week they make it a point to feed him the ball. So I think we'll see a lot of targets early in the game in the first quarter to AJ Brown. I just think the Eagles get going a little bit, and I think defensively their D line kind of dominates the game and make it a little uncomfortable for Baker, and we're going to see some turnovers.
All righty. I like it. I like it. So next game, final game on the slate. Last is the Mortal Locks, but final game on the slate. Rams are at the Bengals. The Bengals are 3-point favorites at home. And might not be playing this week. It's still kind of up in the air. It hasn't been confirmed or denied. Have you heard anything? Because I sure haven't.
Nope, still day to day.
Day to day. Yeah. So I'm going to go on this like at this point. So I'll take the Rams over the Bengals in this game, just strictly off of you're missing your starting quarterback. And the Rams are hot. I mean, they played very well. So give me the Rams over the Bengals with Joe Burrow as we're recording this, not playing, in my opinion. What do you think?
Be wary of the backup quarterback game. How many times have we seen it where the star quarterback gets injured?
Nick Foles won a Super Bowl.
Listen, the backup somehow gets the job done, and this will not be one of those times. I think it's gonna be Jake Browning. Jake Browning will be the quarterback if Joe obviously can't go. This Rams team has been incredibly impressive throughout the first 2 weeks of the year, dominating in Seattle, which is a tough place to play, and then losing a heartbreaker, kind of the Rams falling apart late in that game. So I like their offensive weapons. Obviously, I have Kyren Williams in fantasy. I think with McVay, I think he's going to scheme up some things that are going to be really solid. This defense for the Bengals was not great against Lamar last week in passing, and I think Stafford's going to have a big game. And I guess I had to see of Jake Browning. I mean, I'm done doubting Hall of Famers coming back from injury or starting games. Like I gotta stop doing that. But with Jake Browning I think this is definitely gonna be his first career start. I can't pick him. The only thing that would give me some solace if I was a Bengals fan would be that you're at home, and can this defense step up?
You're in the jungle.
Can the weapons around Browning and the defense step up to lift him?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like they're playing an elite team. Like I think the Rams are good. I don't think they're elite. So there's a chance for them, but I just
never say never.
Never.
No, I agree. Yeah, Justin Bieber, we're throwing it right back there. What's your score prediction?
23-20.
Yeah, I'm
Rams.
right about there. I'm at 28-21. I think Rams win it by a touchdown. I really do. I think without Joe Burrow, it's well, I'll even go less than that actually, because I'm thinking still when I hear Bengals, I think Joe Burrow. I think the Rams put up points. I'll go 21-7. I don't think the Bengals really score in this game without Burrow. But now it's time for the addition of our Mortal Lock. So Dom, I'll let you lead off on this one. Or you know what? Actually, I will if that's all right with you. I'll lead off. I'll
whatever
start
you want to do, my guy. It's your new segment you're including.
All right. So the Mortal Lock I have for you out there. Jacksonville's winning against Houston. They're 9.5-point favorites. That's a game I could pick right off the list and say I'm going to throw my money down on that one. Easy. Trevor Lawrence is doing all right. Yeah, they lost to the Chiefs last week. Put up a fight though. Played well. That is a it's a big opponent that they played in the playoffs last year. And Doug Peterson continues to just, I don't know, make me more confident in that team. He likes to go for it on fourth down. He's a very aggressive coach. I love it. Jacksonville, 9.5-point favorites over Houston. They're winning that game, and they're going to win it. I think they're going to win it 35-21. I think they win it big time.
I don't know. I'm not going to give.
I think Houston
I'm not
scores,
going to
though.
give a score prediction on mine, but I'm going to take the Ravens over the Colts. Anthony Richardson did not practice today. He's still in concussion protocol. Gardner Minshew, who I think is one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL, but going on the road to Baltimore is a tough place to play. We saw it 2 weeks ago with Houston. John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson just don't lose these type of games at all. So, give me the Ravens.
Alrighty. Well, that's your mortal lock. That's my mortal lock. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Buffalonian Podcast, betting on the Bills. I'm Joe Kelly. As always, I'm joined by Dom Loss. We'll talk to you on Tuesday, recap the weekend, hopefully with a nice Bills W, and we'll revisit our picks and see what happens here. The mortal locks should be interesting. So, but without further ado, Dom, how do you always end these, buddy?
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.